What do you do when you're on the road driving and suddenly there's this blockage on the road? Maybe it's a car that's standing still, or it can be that a tree fell on the road. What do? You look around how to bypass the hindrance. Something, there's an obstacle, and instead of going off at the obstacle, you look for a way to bypass the obstacle. Because if you drive back with your car, drive in reverse, and then go forward straight onto the obstacle, you will damage your car, you will hurt yourself, and it will escalate. But that is what a lot of folks do. What I'm teaching here is how to bypass um, energetic obstacles. Because listen to what I'm saying here. All obstacles that you'll face in life are energetic, or I'm saying are spiritual. All obstacles are spiritual. It can be you're going through a financial difficulty now, and you only look at your bank account and what you can do to get more currency on your bank account. Listen to me. The currency is just an outworking. The obstacle is paranormal. Spiritual can either be supernatural or paranormal. Now let me tell you, when you're dealing with a paranormal blockage, learn how to bypass it. Too often focus so much on the paranormal obstacle that we spend so much time and effort in moving the paranormal obstacle. And you can move the paranormal obstacle, but look at this. If Satan wants to hinder you, he will place an obstacle in your way. If he knows that you are trained to fight the obstacle, he will place a strong obstacle in your way so that you will fight it. And while you're fighting it, you lose perspective. So now Satan has you occupied fighting the obstacle. Look, I'm not saying resisting an obstacle is in itself wrong, but it is also wise to know how to bypass a paranormal obstacle. So I'm going to call this video Bypassing Saul. And I based this title on the history of King Saul and the young David. Now, you know the story for yourself. David defeated Goliath, and after that he was praised also by the women in town, and Saul got upset because he credited more victories to David than to Saul. But here's the thing, Saul was the king. Okay, he was a commander in chief, so any achievement by any soldier would be attributed to Saul. And here's the thing, the song the people were playing in town was kind of a comedy, because David had no time to slay 10,000s of men. He had no experience for doing so. He only slain one guy, which was even a human being, but which was a Nephilim. Okay? Yet they credited 10,000 onto him. Now Saul should have known better that this is just a play, that this is not something serious. But Saul took it so serious because Saul had a deep-rooted stronghold of rejection. And he couldn't handle it that David received more praise than he did. Even though he was the king, he was the head of state, and David was just a 17-year-old dude. Maybe 18 years old already. But here's the thing, David was no threat to Saul whatsoever. Yet Saul, who was demon-possessed already, turned on David. Now about bypassing Saul. When you read the Old Testament, David spent the next 13 years fleeing from Saul. Now look, that's the history of what happened to David. David didn't have all the knowledge that we have today. So I'm going to suggest something onto you. And this is not suggestion for witchcraft here, because suggestions in themselves are not wrong. I'm suggesting something onto you here. Maybe instead of running away from Saul, you can bypass Saul. Let me explain. Instead of David fleeing from Saul, okay, let's say the history went different, okay? Let's say David, instead of fleeing for Saul, decided, you know what? Let me gather some cash and let me move to Egypt for a while. Or let me move to Moab for a while. Let's say he just went foreign for a while. Over there, he built a life, got a wife, made some kids, and, well, got some allies. And meanwhile, he also has spies informing him about what's going on in Judea. What's going on in Israel. In such a way, David would have been out of Saul's radar while being active in Israel at the same time. And because he has his base in another country with other people who are not Israelites, there's less chance of betrayal. Because betrayal comes from your own household, not from strangers. Let's say David did this. Let's say David also managed to do trade and get quite wealthy. If that happened, he would have bypassed Saul. Okay? And by bypassing Saul, Saul eventually would have collapsed anyway. And now David could easily come in and take the throne. And when he takes the throne, he already has this strong base of wealth and military support that any resistance against him would have been futile. Now what happened? David fled for Saul. And he had to go from place to place. And while going from place to place, other people also got hurt because when Saul couldn't find David, he took it out on other people. Saul was a genocidal maniac. He killed a whole town of priests called Nod just because David was there and people were hospitable towards David. David, for a moment, even fought on the side of the Philistines until the Philistines didn't trust him anymore. David went through a lot of stuff. Now look, if David had the knowledge to bypass Saul, many of those horrible stuff didn't have to happen. Okay? Now, I'm not saying here that you can prevent everything bad. Okay? Don't put it in your head that you can prevent everything. And by just using your own understanding, you can fix things. I'm not telling you to do that. Absolutely not. I'm just telling you, learn to bypass Saul. And Saul here stands for all paranormal obstacles. Okay? Now, if David would have done that, then it wouldn't have taken him 8 more years to become king of the whole of Israel. If David would have become strong, like a stronghold on his own, while at the same time Saul's household would have collapsed, then when David would have taken the throne, he would have been king of Israel, of the whole of Israel, of all the tribes. But in reality, what happened was that David became king of Judah, and it took 8 more years for him to become the king of the whole of Israel. And even after that, there was still resistance against him because people kept holding on to the household of Saul. Now look, I'm going to give a modern parable to you now. Let's say that you are at the job and people don't even want you there. What can you do? Now, let's say that you're at a job. You just keep doing your job and meanwhile begin to save some money. Okay? Meanwhile, apply for 25 other jobs. Just do it obsessively. No, not obsessively, but do it in a very crazy manner. Apply for 25 other jobs each week while saving money while you're at the job. Also begin to attend some courses or purchase some home courses for yourself. You can put that on your resume. Or you can associate yourself with some charity organization in some foreign country. Do such stuff. What's going on? You are bypassing the hostile environment at work. Not only are you applying for many other jobs, you're also increasing your capacity. Because before you only had that job, you went to that job, you came at home, and that's it. But now you are increasing yourself. So anyone else who would read your resume would see, oh, this guy is in development, he's in movement. So that's going to impress people. You get what I'm saying here? And because you're applying for so many jobs, you have so many things going for you. Even if one says no, you still have 24 other options. And that's how you keep going. Look, when someone comes with a gun to shoot you, don't stand still and put your hands up. That's what a lot of people do. They freeze and put their hands up. When you do that, you make it very easy for the individual to shoot you because you're standing still. The moment someone comes with a gun and you run to the left, then you jump to the right, then you jump to the right again, and then to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. When you keep being in movement like that, the individual becomes confused. They will shoot, but they will shoot the wrong way many times. And while you're moving ahead like that, you have the opportunity to look for an object to throw at the shooter. So because you are in movement, you bypass the danger. Okay? But when you stand still, when you're static, when you're passive aggressive, you are complying with your own destruction. And you can't agree against yourself like that. Look, I'm not saying David was passive aggressive. No. However, he could have bypassed Saul. However, enough about David, as I'm using David as an example to you. Learn to bypass Saul. Okay? It's very important. And then another example. Let's say you used to be involved with someone, and I'm saying romantically, and the relationship broke. And let's say that you find out that the grandmother of that woman put some hex on you, or some spell, or whatever you want to call it, that would prevent you from moving on. They put some stigma, some victimization label on you paranormally. So now you sense that people tend to wanna treat you badly, tend to throw their bad energies at you. What are you going to do? You acknowledge what's happening. You're not going to accept it. And when people are triggered to treat you badly, record it. Record it either with a hidden camera or with audio, or if it's online, keep the messages and later you can spread them around. I'm not telling you to spread them around directly, but record them and after a while, you have a bunch of evidence on how bad people are treating you. So then when you open your mouth and people begin to resist you, you can show evidence. What has happened? You bypassed the spell. Well, why? Because you bypassed the stigma. Because now, even though the stigma is there, it's still the people complying with it. And now there's evidence people are complying with something they can't explain why. Some people are forced to change their behavior towards you. You get what I'm saying here? Or let's say that people keep meditating negatively upon you. And this affects your social relationships. It affects your finances. What do? When you are out of work, begin to approach people. Talk to people when you're in a train, when you're in a bus, just like that. Okay? And make sure you have a business card, that you have something to offer, and keep, how do I say, connecting with other people. If you keep doing this for months, maybe within 5 months, you connected with 250 people in total. I'm not saying that all of them are going to respond back onto you, but at least your influence have increased. So if there was a spell of victimization on you, if there was some paranormal, how to say, paranormal obstacle towards you, you bypassed it. And by you bypassing it, it loses its power. You get what I'm saying here? It's the same as there's an army coming to attack you, and you even assist the army coming towards you, and you even assist the army in attacking one of your castles, but the castles they attack is completely empty. There's nothing for them over there. So the army spends all its effort destroying that castle, while meanwhile all the wealth has been placed elsewhere already. You bypass the military attack upon your land. I'm telling you, learn to bypass Saul. Too many of you think you need to fight Saul. No. There are times you fight Saul, but it's far more wise to bypass Saul. When you bypass Saul, let me tell you from experience, Saul will weaken himself by chasing you or by agreeing against you. And them weakening themselves will exhaust them and they'll collapse eventually. So after a while, you're still bypassing Saul while Saul's not even there anymore. And meanwhile, you've bypassed them so successfully that you won't even remember that Saul was even there. Look, Christ said, in the world you have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. Listen, let's call tribulation Saul, okay? Learn to bypass Saul. Learn to bypass tribulation. When you know how to bypass things, very blessed you are. There are criminals out there who know how to bypass the police. They know how to bypass forensic investigation. Now, they're not always successful, but they know how to do it, and that's why they can do the criminal stuff, robbing bank accounts, all of that, and they are at ease. Nobody comes after them. Am I supporting them in what they're doing? No. But they're practical. Now, why should criminals be practical but not you? Learn to bypass Saul. Don't please Saul. Don't appease him. Don't try to reason with him. Bypass him. Be at peace.